welcome to this section of New Start for the Family. We have covered N, which stands for what? Nutrition. The E stands for exercise. And today, the W stands for water. And there are many aspects to water and health. In fact, a lot more than what we can cover in this time period, but we're going to be able to cover the highlights today. First of all, the majority of each one listening to me or watching on DVD, the majority of you is actually water. If we take a look at body water, the total amount of water in a man of average weight, and of course that average weight continues to go up, so you can see the physiology textbook somehow I haven't kept up, but this says an average weight of 150 pounds, is approximately 40 liters, averaging 57% of his total body weight. So 40 liters of water, 57%. In a newborn infant, 75% water. But it unfortunately continues to decline throughout age. So the older you are, the less water you are. But in reality, you're healthier to have more water in general on board. Of course, there are some exceptions to that. We can get too much water as well. Obesity decreases the percentage of water in the body. And if you are an obese individual, chances are that you're not the majority water. You might be the majority fat, but your water content goes down to about 45% or sometimes even less. And of course, women tend to have a little less water than men in them. Men have about 3 to 4% more water than women. Well, what are the functions of all of this water in the body? It regulates the temperature of the body, helps organize and assimilate the nutrients, helps expel toxins, helps expel the excess salts, helps keep the blood pressure down and regulate it. Of course, if you have very minimal water, your blood pressure can actually be too low. And for those that have low blood pressure, we're actually giving water in veins through IVs into veins in order to maintain it in a hospital setting. So the water can help keep that blood pressure normal. Well, what are the signs of dehydration? Your skin becomes drier. It does wrinkle more, actually, when you are dry. You become more easily fatigued. This is a later sign of dehydration. But if you get to the dry mouth stage, you know that you're actually significantly dehydrated. But dry mouth is certainly one of the signs. It's more difficult to concentrate when you have some mild dehydration or more severe dehydration on board. Headache, very common. One of the most early symptoms in some individuals of dehydration is getting that headache. Constipation is a problem of not enough water in many individuals. High blood pressure can result from not enough water. And then even the salivary duct can become blocked. We've seen individuals with painful salivary glands that are kind of swollen just simply due to dehydration or too much salt. Sometimes we'll do it as well, too much salt in relationship to fluid. Allergic type symptoms. Many individuals with allergies, so-called allergies. You know, this is the patient that comes to me where I look at the allergy list and, you know, it's an entire page of all of this stuff that they're supposedly allergic to. And in some cases, it can actually be accurate. But the majority of cases that come to me with those type of lists, they're actually not allergic. They think they have an adverse reaction to those things. But often, allergy symptoms present themselves as dehydration. And so by getting adequate hydration and getting the lifestyle to change so that we're not getting rid of more fluid than what we're putting in, can actually alleviate those allergy symptoms. And the same is true in some individuals of the hypoglycemic symptoms. We've had individuals that are convinced they have hypoglycemia. And of course, we measure their finger stick blood sugar when they're having symptoms. and they're not really that hypoglycemic. You know, normally you have to have a blood sugar of less than 50 before you get into those hypoglycemic symptoms. And their blood sugar might be 60 or 65, and so they assume it's hypoglycemia and why they're feeling dizzy and faint. Some individuals will, we had one individual that came to me. She was actually a court clerk, and she was the, also functioned sometimes as a typist, typing words during depositions and court cases, etc. And this individual, in the middle of a court trial where she was recording every word that was being said, passed out. And it happened several times. In fact, her job was in jeopardy because of this. She went to the emergency room, she went to a number of physicians, and then finally she came to us. And after I did a complete evaluation, my suspicion was this individual actually was suffering. This was her response to dehydration. And in her case, we had to have her on more than just the usual 6 or 8 glasses of water per day. In her case, we had to have her on 16 glasses of water a day. But when she was on 16 glasses of water per day, never got dizzy, never passed out again in the courtroom. The disadvantage of her case was that she had to have breaks in the courtroom in order to expel that water. But she'd much rather have that when it's a planned break than someone's in the middle of the sentence and has to restart it an hour later when they have a new person there to record it because the recorder has passed out. Kidney or gallstones. Kidney stones simply, in most cases, are due to not enough water on a chronic basis. And now new evidence shows that gallstones are also more likely to form as a result of dehydration. Of course, gallstones can form from too much cholesterol and too much saturated fat as well. Bladder or kidney infections, far more likely when you're suffering from dehydration. And not just infections. Studies show that if you're chronically not getting enough water, you increase your risk of bladder cancer as well, significantly, which can be a deadly disease. Improper digestion. Many individuals with digestive problems have those problems alleviated when they are adequately hydrated. A dry cough is sometimes a symptom of just chronic dehydration. And very simple remedy to get hydrated adequately. Pain in the back and joints. Common problem, but many times it's simply due to dehydration. And thus it's important to stay well hydrated and prevent the hydration robbers as well from coming on board the system. Well, this is New Start for the Family. And of course this occurs, these dehydration symptoms occur in people of all ages, but particularly the younger generation as well. The dehydration can manifest itself in young people just by their irritability. They become much more emotionally labile. And many times the parents think that, you know, there's a problem maybe with the child in regards to how irritable they are, but it's just simply due to chronic dehydration of that child. And so it's important to have children at that age learn how to drink water. I know in our own a children's case, we taught them at an early age to drink water because we would feed them water at night instead of milk or breast milk. And at first, of course, they're wanting the breast milk, so they cry because it's not that nice taste. But in reality, it helps them sleep through the night a lot quicker. In other words, earlier on, when they know they're just going to get water at night and not milk, and it also helps them to stay hydrated. Of course, an infant during that first month or two may need to breastfeed or have milk about every 2 hours. But after that, you can start feeding those kids water and have them get used to that water drinking, and it will really help in regards to focus and attention of those kids as well. Inadequate water intake also has a number of mental health issues that come about as a result. Studies show that if you're not drinking enough water, you will have difficulty in staying focused. It will actually impair short-term memory function. It'll impair recall of long-term memory. So you have those memories there in the long-term data bank, but you're not able to access that actual area of the brain. Diminishes the ability to perform mental arithmetic as well. Mental fatigue, very common. And then, as we mentioned, headache and even depression can result from inadequate water. We treat many individuals with chronic, severe, treatment-resistant depression. And one of the remedies that they're given first is that water to stay well hydrated. It's an important remedy for depression, and it can also help anxiety as well. This was an interesting study done in teenagers. These were active teenagers. They were physically fit basketball players. But the studies that were done where they were just mildly dehydrated for about 3 to 4 hours, where they didn't have adequate hydration. The study showed, given the limited availability of brain metabolic resources, these findings suggest that prolonged states of reduced water intake adversely impact executive functions such as planning and visual spatial processing. Now, what area of the brain is that talking about? It's talking about the frontal lobe of the brain. And of course, that's the area of spirituality, morality in the will, analysis, proper decision making. And so it's very interesting that a simple remedy like water can adversely affect frontal lobe functions in teenagers, and of course we know that can also occur in adults as well. Now, a lot of people are not aware of this fact that I'm going to give you, and that is that water is an important remedy for the overweight to lose weight. People who drank 2 glasses of water 20 to 30 minutes before every meal lost weight more quickly initially and lost significantly more weight than those who didn't. Both were put on or they wanted to lose weight, so they were put on a diet to try to lose weight. But they found out those who drank the water 20 to 30 minutes actually were less hungry and they consumed less calories. Body weight was assessed weekly for 12 weeks. Weight loss was 5 pounds greater in the water group than in the non-water group. And the water group showed a 44% greater decline in weight over the 12 weeks than the non-water group. And so that's a significant difference. And it's kind of interesting. A lot of the medications that have been put on the market to help you lose weight, most of them have been removed because of side effects. But the few that are still on the market for weight loss that people will spend hundreds of dollars a month to take, actually this remedy of water is superior to those expensive medications. It's actually important for appetite control. People who drank, this was a different study now, people who drank 2 8-ounce glasses of water before meals ate an average of 75 fewer calories at that meal. Well, you say that's not a whole lot of calories. You know, it takes 3,500 calories to make a difference in a pound. But if you ate 75 fewer calories at 2 meals a day, say lunch and dinner for the next year, you would lose 14.5 pounds. And so it adds up over time when you multiply it out 365 days. In addition, being even 1% dehydrated can cause a significant drop in metabolism, which also interferes with weight loss. So it's not just the appetite control. Your metabolic system actually works better when you're well hydrated. Now, this is New Start for the Family for all ages. What about our robust young boys and men? Many of them are building their muscles. They're working out. And an important remedy in building stronger muscles is actually much more important in regards to how hydrated those boys are than whether they're taking protein supplements or creatine or things of that nature, which can be harmful. This study showed hypohydration significantly increased circulating concentration of cortisol and norepinephrine. So if you're not having adequate hydration at the time you're working out, your cortisol level goes up. And by the way, that's very similar to the drug prednisone. Prednisone is not the steroid you want to be on when you're trying to gain muscle mass and expand your muscles and enlarge those muscles. It actually does the opposite. That type of steroid, it is a steroid, but it's not an anabolic steroid. That steroid will actually shrink muscles and get more fat. So the cortisol, as a result of their dehydration, their muscles won't strengthen as much and they'll actually gain more fat. And norepinephrine will also circulate, which of course increases their anxiety and doesn't help with the muscle buildup as well. In addition, as a result of their hypohydration, they have attenuated their testosterone response to the exercise. Now, testosterone is the drug that many of them are seeking for to pay large amounts of money. Getting it from Mexico and places where they know that this is an anabolic steroid where their muscles will gain. But instead, they could save a lot of that money just by being well hydrated and making sure that, if anything, they might be slightly overhydrated than underhydrated at the time of exercise. Their own testosterone levels will pick up. It also alters their carbohydrate and lipid metabolism in an adverse way. These results suggest that hypohydration can modify the hormonal and metabolic response to resistance exercise. In other words, in an adverse way, that dehydration. And so it's good for people of all ages, even the robust among us. Now, this was an interesting study from Loma Linda University, taking a look at those that were a little older, people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and the amount of water that they were drinking and their heart attack rate, and particularly whether they were dying of heart attacks during the study period. What they found is that consumption of water, as you can see on the screen, from getting less than 2 glasses of water per day, average, and by the way, that's the average individual in America. They're drinking other fluids, but as far as actual water is concerned, they're only getting less than 2 glasses of water per day. And if they were to increase that to greater than 5 glasses of water a day, they decrease their heart attack mortality in women by almost 50%, and in men more than 50%. Now, what if instead of drinking water, they just hydrated themselves with other fluid? Consumption of other fluids, including coffee, tea, juice, and milk, the risk was actually even worse than being dehydrated, with very heavy drinking women exhibiting more than a 2-fold higher risk of dying of heart attack, and heavy non-drinking men with a 46% increased risk of heart attack death. And so this underscores a very important, simple, and cheap blood thinner. You know, when you have heart disease, doctors are always recommending blood thinners. And they always tend to recommend a very cheap blood thinner that virtually everyone can afford. Do you know what that is? Aspirin. Now, aspirin thins the blood in a different way than water does. Water causes the viscosity to go down and makes your circulation better. Aspirin really won't make the circulation better. It just makes those platelets not as sticky, and so it's not as likely to clog. But when we decrease the viscosity, not only does our platelet stickiness go down, but our circulation goes up. And there is something that's even a cheaper blood thinner than aspirin, and that is simply water. Far cheaper to drink greater than 5 glasses of water a day than even take your baby aspirin per day. Now let's take a look at another use of water, a very important use of water, and that has to do with cleanliness and hydrotherapy. You can see this individual getting clean. Many premature deaths are caused by infections in this world. 9 million children die worldwide every year due to infections alone. 8 million adults die due to infections worldwide. And the 10 leading fatal infections, intestinal worm, whooping cough, measles, tuberculosis, HIV, AIDS, and many of these, diarrhea, acute lower respiratory diseases. I'm listing the top 10 total fatal infections. Some of these are not really spared by adequate cleanliness and hygiene, but most of them are. the diarrhea and acute lower respiratory diseases particularly, as well as TB and whooping cough and intestinal worms, those deaths can be spared by adequate cleanliness in many, many cases. Preventable diseases through proper hygiene: pneumonia, gastroenteritis, the flu, common cold, polio, hepatitis, cholera, typhoid, TB, pertussis, parasites, meningococcal meningitis, even hospital infections. Most hospital-acquired infections are due to lack of proper cleanliness in the hospital environment. And even lice can be prevented through proper cleanliness. Now, this is the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC in Atlanta. They state that hand washing is the single most important prevention step for reducing disease transmission. So if you want to prevent disease from spreading from one person to another, hand washing is the simplest and most important one. This was an interesting study. 77% of more than 6,000 men and women wash their hands in public airport restrooms. 6% decline compared with a similar study in 2005. Now, they interviewed this same group, and this group stated that they washed, 92% of them said they washed their hands all the time after they used the toilet. Then they had those security cameras in the bathrooms, and someone went and actually counted how many people were going out of the toilet and leaving without washing their hands. And it turns out over 25% of them did not wash their hands after using the toilet. This was in the Atlanta airport where this study was done on 6,000 men and women. Now, they've done it in other airports as well. Men were the biggest offenders. Just 66% of men seen washing their hands in public bathrooms compared with 88% of women. Now, I'm not sure why it's a greater problem with men, but the study's author said very clearly, guys need to step up to the sink. And when you really think about it, with some areas that aren't clean, etc., it's actually just simply a gross thing to not wash your hands after touching certain areas of your body. Now, this was another interesting study. A group of Pennsylvania researchers demonstrate that elementary school-age children, this was kindergarten through third grade that they studied this, who were taught about the importance of hand washing after going to the bathroom and before and after eating, logged 51% fewer absences during a 3-month period than students who went without the hand hygiene program. 51%. And that means they weren't getting sick. They weren't getting the bad colds. They weren't getting the flus. They weren't getting the diarrhea. Students included in the program sat through just a 10-minute talk during which they were told about how hand washing can reduce illness and prevent the spread of microorganisms like bacteria and viruses. Furthermore, the presenter explained when it is best to wash your hands. And that, of course, is before and after meals and after you use the bathroom. Or if you have been exposed, you know that you've been exposed, or a high likelihood of exposure of something that isn't very clean or likely to have a disease-causing organism there. And they not only told them how to do it, but told them how to remind their buddy when it's best for them to wash his or her hands. The students then watched a short video presentation on germs and completed drawing or word exercises related to hand washing. The entire exercise took a total of how much time in the classroom? 1 hour. But they had 51% less problems as far as illness and missing school. This would be one of the most important educational components, I think, for children and adults alike. Washing hands with soap can halve the number of young children suffering from pneumonia, the leading killer of youngsters under 5 years old worldwide. Can also greatly reduce cases of diarrhea and the skin infection impetigo. One of the things that this research shows that there are even more health benefits to the simple act of hand washing than we have previously appreciated, says Dr. Stephen Luby, the lead researcher and an epidemiologist at the CDC. How should you wash your hands? Count to 20. How long should it take you to wash your hands? 20 seconds. If you follow the CDC's recommendations, you're to lather up, rub all surfaces of your hands together for 20 seconds, and if you're wondering how long that is, sing happy birthday twice, and that's 20 seconds. According to the World Health Organization, the whole process from washing to drying your hands should take 40 to 60 seconds, and that's really all you need to stay clean. The last aspect of water has to do with water treatments called hydrotherapy. Hydrotherapy has been shown to be able to improve your sleep. In fact, get some good hydrotherapy before going to bed, and it will often just put you into a nice sleep. Sometimes a hot shower can do that, or other types of hydrotherapy. It can improve energy levels, particularly when it's contrast baths. When you end with the cold, your energy level can improve. It assists the immune system, can treat migraine or tension headaches, can assist in musculoskeletal conditions. Many musculoskeletal conditions are helped by certain aspects of hydrotherapy, heat or cold treatments. Acute injury, you can have ice treatments, which can really help the swelling and the inflammation. And hydrotherapy can help treat wounds, and it can also alleviate depression or anxiety. In fact, the way we do contrast hydrotherapy in our depression recovery programs, our participants call it natural shockwave treatments. They don't, at first, they're not sure they really want to do this, but when they see the effect and they see the benefit of it near the end of the program, they're all lining up, wanting to have that positive effect of the hydrotherapy. Cold stress increases immune cells. Have you ever thought about adding a daily cold shower? That girl looks like she's enjoying it. There's accumulating evidence that daily brief cold stress or cold shower can increase both numbers and activities of peripheral cytotoxic T lymphocytes and natural killer cells. And this type of regimen for 8 days has been shown to improve cell-mediated immunity as well. And so the disadvantage of the hot showers is it dries your skin more. We talked about the wrinkling, etc. The cold showers don't have that tendency to do it, particularly when you're bathing in soft water. Soft water will prevent that eczema and the other skin conditions. If you're having problems with that, you really need to get a water softener. Well, in closing, how much water should you drink? 8 glasses of water may not be enough on hot days or while exercising. You may need to have more. You're going to lose a lot more with exercise and hot days. Desire or thirst itself is not a good indicator. You need to drink freely, drink often, drink pure water, and soft water is best for the drinking as well. 2 important suggestions: drink before you get the signal. Many experts believe that thirst indicates you're already slightly dehydrated. Drink 2 glasses of water first in the morning. That'll get 2 glasses over with right there, 20 to 30 minutes before breakfast. And we recommend for everyone, 6 glasses is the minimum. Wash your hands. Keep your hands away from your face when your hands are not clean. That's a very important disease-preventing regimen. Keep your body and clothes clean. In other words, when you are coughing, don't cough into your hands. Cough into a place where you're not going to be near as easily spread it, like your elbow. But then you need to also make sure the clothes are clean. And when not feeling well, use hydrotherapy. Even if you're just feeling fatigued, it's a great time to utilize it and make sure that you are well hydrated. And so I encourage you to get a new start. And remember, the W stands for water. Thank you.